Hi everyone, I'm Rick Beato. On today's Everything Music, it's What Makes This Song Great, episode 20. The band is Queens of the Stone Age, and the song is No One Knows. Coming up next. No One Knows was the first single from the Songs for the Deaf album by Queens of the Stone Age, which came out in August of 2002. The track was written by Josh Homme and Mark Lanigan from Streaming Trees, and it features Dave Grohl on the drums. Dave actually plays on the entire record. One of the things that makes the song great is the really infectious guitar hook. First time I heard that, I said, wow, that is a great riff. Not only is it a great riff, it's incredibly great sounding. And part of the reason for that is Eric Valentine, who engineered and co-produced the record. Eric is an incredibly great engineer and producer. As a matter of fact, there's a video on YouTube where he explains how he got the sounds for this particular record. You'll see from this picture here, these are actually pictures from the session, how many different microphones there are set up around all these different amplifiers. You can see that there's an Ampeg amp that's either a V4 or maybe a V4B. You'll notice I have this Ampeg amp behind me. This is my old early 70s Ampeg V2 with an old early 70s Ampeg cabinet. Now I've got the mids cranked. I have an EQ up here that are cranking the mids so I can get as much mid-range, because this is a really heavy mid-range guitar sound. So I also have my power soak up here because this amp is insanely loud, and that I'm able to get that overdrive by using the attenuation with the power soak. Before we begin, let's talk about the tuning for the song. The tuning is actually just a regular standard E tuning, but drop down a major third to the note C. So all your chord shapes, your bar chords and things are going to be like they would be in just a standard open tuning. It begins with everyone playing unison C minor chord like this. And then into the riff. So we've got this. So the verse riff just goes like this. So that's the, there's a little bend in there where you just bend all your fingers down to pull, the lick happens in the middle of the intro part here. And then there's a harmonic at the 7th fret that happens just before the verse enters. And when we're in the verse, we go to a simplified version. Now, one thing about the drum part in this tune is that they recorded the cymbals separately. So these cymbal parts are overdubbed later on. So all the rest of the drums were done and dummy cymbals were put up for Dave Grohl. And you can hear that he's just playing the cymbals by themselves. They did this on the entire record. As a matter of fact, I think a lot of the Queens of the Stone Age records were done like this. This is not the first time it's done. It's been done on many, many records. But you can really get the drums to punch if you record the cymbals separately. One of the tracks that I had done on another one of the episodes, we had the cymbals that were overdubbed separately. So anyways, that's a really cool feature of this tune that I think make the drums have a real great separation, and you don't have all the cymbal wash and the snare and kick drum. So it makes it punchier. And here's the bass tone. Let me play the bass at the beginning. It's really a great tone. Really incredible sounding. So let's talk about what happens here in the verse. So we come out of this harmonic part with the guitar, and then
we get some rules to follow, that and this, these and those. No one knows.
Josh is a phenomenally good singer, as you can tell from that. It's also a really well-recorded vocal. There's not any harshness to it. It just has perfect amount of top end to it and mid-range. Let's go back, and I'm going to play from the top of the verse and talk about it. Here we go.
We get some rules
So it starts on the tonic C minor, and then goes to G7, the 5 chord. But here's the change. It goes from the C minor chord to the G7. But here's the unusual change. It goes to B major back to C minor. That B major chord is actually a modulation. All right, you have that common tone of the D sharp of this chord becomes an E flat, which becomes the third of the C minor. So it's a really cool change. It's actually really unexpected. Then the second half of the verse, C minor, G7, B major, back to the tonic, C minor. Then there's this, just a open C string, also with a fretted note, to give you that unison. Let me play along with the track. And then back into the verse. Same thing, starts on C minor. Then goes to 5 chord, G7, B major. Then it does a turnaround here. Back to the 5 chord. To the major 7, then back to the riff. Now here's the big fill. And then we're into the chorus. This is smoking. All the fills that lead into the chorus and that are in the middle of the chorus are great fills. Check out this drum fill here. Now, one of the cool things, after he does this fill, he's right in that crash, but because of that the drums are not played at the same time as the cymbals, listen. So you're going to get a really clean crash cymbal there when he's riding the crash. He's hitting it really evenly, but you don't have any of that stuff in the drums, so the drums are really punchy in the chorus. I think that they had set up some pads or something for him to hit because it was really awkward to just play the cymbals by themselves. Probably tapping his foot, hitting a snare, and then just playing them where you would play them within the track. Let's check out the guitar line that leads into the chorus. Now you can hear a bunch of guitars that jump in on the chorus, some extra guitars, but this is an octave line. Really, really cool building lick. Let's check it out through the chorus. Now in the second half, so the first time it does the walk up the same way. But the second time you can hear it has a little bit of a dual lead, has a descending. It moves down like a harmonic minor scale. Right. Then it splits off. So, and then there's that second line that goes in with it, actually keeps going. Then they abruptly cut off back into the intro rig. Let me play along with the track. back into the riff. Okay, I'd like to talk about the melody a little bit here. Josh is using some cool notes of the chords. So he starts on the third of the C minor, E flat. Then he goes to the fourth. Now you've heard the fourth a lot because it's in the riff when he's doing the... He's already playing that fourth, so you're hearing that. And he does the flat five, which gives it that blues feel. So that's all over the tonic of C minor. He's going back and forth between the third and the fourth. But here, he goes to the flat seven on the G7, and then on the hook line. So here, when he goes to the B chord, he's on the third to the sharp four, so Lydian sound, and then resolving back to the third of C minor, which is a really cool sound. So he's using mainly chord tones. The only non-chord tones he's using are the fourths. He's using the fourth on the C minor chord, using the 11th or the fourth, the flat 7 on G7, and then on the B major, third, sharp four, and then resolving back to the third of C minor. Now in the chorus, you have some really cool things happening. The lead-in line to the chorus, because you have the riff. And you have this melody over it. It starts out like this. So the first phrase is obviously in C minor. It begins with a pickup C, and it goes right up to the fifth of the C minor. But one of the things that you have to look at is what is going on in the octave line on the guitar. So in the octave line, it starts out with a C and a G above it. Okay, so that's obviously you get the root in the fifth of the C minor. But then it walks up C, D, E flat. And then on the E flat, the melody is right in unison with it. And then they move together down to D. And then you have the F in the guitar with the C in the melody above it. The F moves down to E flat while the C holds in the melody, so you create that third interval. And then the melody in the guitar moves in parallel sixth with the vocal melody. When it goes G to F, the vocal melody goes from E flat to D. And the D then becomes the pickup note of the next bar. It becomes the fifth of the G5 chord. Because the octave line is moving, it's sometimes in unison, sometimes in harmony with the melody. Check it out again. Listen to it. It's the second time. Now the third time it's different. On the third phrase, where you have the descending line, it starts with an E flat in the octaves on the guitar, and you have the G in the melody, so that's in thirds, which is why it sounds really good, because you have the melody and the guitar part in harmony with each other. So the guitar line walks down right down the scale from E flat, so E flat, D, C, B, which is part of the harmonic minor scale, and then it goes in the guitar from D to C, and you've got C in the melody. That creates a little dissonance on the D, which quickly resolves an eighth note later to the C. And then you have unison, E flat to D in the melody and in the guitar line. And the D lines up as the fifth of the G5 chord. The fourth phrase is exactly the same as the first two. And then we're back to the interlude. So the second verse and chorus are the same melodically, but I want to draw attention to the drums and bass in the second chorus, because there's really a lot of incredible stuff going on in both. The bass is really, really moving all over the place, and there's some incredibly cool drum fills. Check it out. Okay, at the end of the second chorus, there's a little bridge interlude section. And it does that riff there. And that riff is... It goes G to A flat to B. And then G, F, G. Back to C. Then does the riff. the bass break. Now, when I just play the guitar solo and the backing track without the bass and drums, there's a really interesting thing that's almost impossible to hear in the mix. I'm going to play the two together. Check this out. I'm going to mute the solo guitar and I'm going to solo the orchestral sounds. Check it out. That's probably the coolest thing in any of the songs that I've broken down yet. So after the guitar solo, we come back to the solo bass riff. So the vocals come in for one last time around. Then we're back into the groove. And then we're back to the intro riff right here. G7, B major, and then intro. That's all for now. Please subscribe to my Everything Music YouTube channel. And if you're interested in the Beato book, go to my website at www.rickbeato.com. Thanks for watching. Pretty cool, right? Yeah. I'll see you next time.